Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Channa Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Channa Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanadandana Yashodanandana Vrajajanadandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nittai go Haribo, 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 Nittai go Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Prabhupada, Ashatara Satashi, Shrimad Divine Loving Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Gaudiya Vaishnava Ki, Namacharya Das Thakur Ki. Sadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopika Shama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Girigovardhan Ki, Vrindavana Ki, Mathura Dhamma Ki, Dwarka Dhamma Ki, Gangamaya Ki, Chamunamaya Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Pati Devi Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Gaur Premananda Haribom. All glories to the Simul devotees. All glories to the Simul devotees. All glories to the Simul devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories, Shri Shri Guru Shri Guranga. So we just said all glories to the assembled devotees. So for the benefit of those devotees who are online right now, I'd like to mention the names of some of the glorious devotees who are here with us this morning, so that you can also join us in spirit. We have Nishinga Rupa Prabhu, we have Nanda Vraj, we have Premamrita Prabhu, we have Mother Kaylee, we have Rasapriya. Right? Starry. Okay, Starry. We have Tulsi Saki, we have Gokulananda, we have Manjari Gopika, we have Rajeshwari, and what is your name? Kamal. And then myself, Kripamaya Das, and also my good wife, Krishna Baba, Devi Dasi, she's here as well. And actually before coming to class this morning, she said, "Your worst critic is coming to class this morning." And I was thinking, she must not mean her, because I know she's not that critical. And I think, you mean me? So, right, all right. Yes. So I'm looking forward to this morning. We have only like a half hour, then 8:15 we'll open the forum for discussion. I have my children have a teacher. My grandchildren have a music teacher who teaches piano, and before the class begins, she has a little ceremony she does. She's from the Buddhist tradition. She's, originally, and she says, the student goes, "Please teach me," and then she says, "Please allow me to teach you." So, can you all say that? Just kidding. Please allow me to teach you. And then at 8:15, we're going to reverse the roles. You're going to say, I'm going to say, "Please teach me," and you say, "Yes, please allow me to teach you." So this is reciprocation. It's like inhaling and exhaling, right? We inhale, we exhale, we take in Krishna's love and mercy, we exchange it with others. This is the process of breathing. It gives life to our spiritual practice. So this morning we're reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, text 29. The selection of verses that we'll be reading from today are text 36 through 45, and today's focus verse is number 37. So I guess the mic is ready. We can begin by passing it around, and for the pleasure of Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji, the boys can read these verses. You want to begin?
36 is the first one?
Yes.
This Purusa, whom the individual soul must approach, is the eternal form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Brahman and Paramatma. He is the transcendental chief personality, and his activities are all spiritual.
The time factor who causes the transformation of the various material manifestations is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who does not know that time is the same Supreme Personality is afraid of the time factor.
Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, is the time factor and the master of all masters. He enters everyone's heart, and he is the support of everyone, and he causes every being to be annihilated by another.
No one is dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, nor is anyone his enemy or friend, but he gives inspiration to those who have not forgotten him and destroys those who have.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality Godhead, the wind blows. Out of fear of him, the sun shines. Out of fear of him, rain pours forth showers. And out of fear of him, the host of heavenly bodies shed their luster.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the trees, creepers, herbs, and seasonal plants and flowers blossom and fructify, each in its own season.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the rivers flow, and the ocean never overflows. Out of fear of him, only does fire burn, and does the earth with its mountains not sink in the water of the universe.
Subject to the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sky allows outer space to accommodate all the various planets, which hold innumerable living entities. The total universal body expands with its 7 coverings under his supreme control.
Out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the directing demigods in charge of the modes of material nature carry out the functions of creation, maintenance, and destruction. Everything animate and inanimate within this material world is under their control.
Wonderful, Rajeshri. Very good. And one more verse.
The eternal time factor has no beginning and no end. It is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maker of the criminal world. It brings about the end of the phenomenal world. It carries on the work of creation by bringing one individual into existence from another, and likewise, it dissolves the universe by destroying even the Lord of Death, Yamaraj.
So thank you all very much for reading. I thought I would just begin this morning with a little overview of what we're going to try to cover in the next 15 to 20 minutes. And first I'd like to say that I think we'll talk about the nature of time. We'll talk about some examples of those who become fearless in the face of time. And then we'll discuss the process by which we can become ourselves fearless from the effects of time. I thought I'd begin with a little summary just to give us a little context here. We're in the 3rd canto, and this 3rd canto is this particular section. We're dealing with these chapters. We've just reached the end of this chapter. This is the last. Thus ends the Bhagavatam purports of the 3rd canto, 29th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Explanation of Devotional Service by Lord Kapila. And then there's a few more chapters after this, and then the Bhagavatam will move on from there. This whole sequence of questions and answers started back in the 25th chapter. And I just wanted to read these few of these verses here, starting with verse number 6. When Kapila, so we just get the context, Kardama Muni, the husband of Devahuti, has left, has taken sannyas. Okay, and his wife is feeling devastated. This is not a recommended process for most of us in Kali Yuga. In fact, I was listening last night to a lecture by Mahatma Prabhu, and he was saying how sometimes we have the mistaken idea that we will succeed by failing. We think that if I fail in the Grihastha ashram, then I can succeed in becoming a sannyasi. And he actually approached Srila Prabhupada and said, Srila Prabhupada, can I take sannyas? He says, Srila Prabhupada told him, first you become successful in the Grihastha ashram. And he elaborated on that, saying that in the Grihastha ashram, you learn responsibility, you learn to be caring, you learn kindness. There's so many blessings that we get in that ashram. But then again, we do see rare exceptions in the Bhagavatam where, was it Sridhar Swami, he saw the lizard fall from the ceiling, and he decided, okay, So in rare cases it does work out, but in most cases it doesn't. But in this case, this is the arrangement of the Lord that Kadama Muni took sannyas. And it says when Kapila, who could show her the ultimate goal of the absolute truth, was sitting leisurely before her. Okay, so Kapila is sitting there. He's very leisurely, relaxed, no tension, right? Very relaxed way, sitting there, and right in front of his mother. Devahuti remembers the words of Brahma. Does anyone remember the words of Brahma? I didn't get a chance to look it up. Anyway, so Brahma said something to Devahuti, and she remembered that, and she began to ask Kapila, her son, these questions. Devahuti said, I am very sick of the disturbance caused by my material senses. Can anyone relate to that? I'm feeling just very sick. I know I am. For because of the sense disturbance, my Lord, I have fallen into the abyss of ignorance. Your Lordship is the only means of getting out of the darkest region of ignorance, because you are my transcendental I, which by your mercy only I have attained after many, many births. So this is significant, that Krishna is the transcendental I. In other words, one of Krishna's qualities is Shastra Chakshush, his 20th quality. He sees through the eyes of Scripture. So when we are able to put on the glasses, right, of Shastra, we can actually see with proper vision. So this morning, we will go to the text, our focus verse this morning. It's up on the board, I believe. Text 37. Hara Rupa Vedaspadam Divyam Kala Iti Abadiyate Bhutanam Mahad Adinam Yato Bina Drasham Bayam Rupa Vedaspadam Divyam Kala iti Abadiyate Bhutanam Mahadadinam Yatobina Jashambayam. Someone like to please chant? Rupa Beda Padam Divyam Kala iti Abadiyate Bhutana Mahadadinam Yatobina Jashambayam Rupa Vedaspadam Divyam Kala iti Abadiyate Bhutana Mahadadinam Yato Bina Jashambayam Rupa Vedaspadam Divyam Kala Itya Abadiyate Bhutana Mahadadinam Yato Bina Jashambayam Rupa Beda Badam Divyam Kala iti Abadiyate Bhutana Mahadadinam Yato Bina Jashambayam Rupa Beda, of the transformation of forms. Aspadam, the cause. Divyam, divine. Kala, time. Iti, thus. abhidiyate is known. Bhutanam of living entities. Mahat Adinam beginning with Lord Brahma. Yata because of which Bina Drisham with separate vision. Bhayam fear. Translation. The time factor who causes the transformation of the various material manifestations is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who does not know that time is that same Supreme Personality is afraid of the time factor. Translation again, please repeat. The time factor who causes the transformation of the various material manifestations is another feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyone who does not know that time is the same Supreme Personality is afraid of the time factor. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Everyone is afraid of the activities of time, but a devotee who knows that the time factor is another representation or manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has nothing to fear from the influence of time. The phrase Rupa Bedaspadam is very significant. By the influence of time, so many forms are changing. For example, when a child is born, his form is small. But in the due course of time, that form changes into a larger form, the body of a boy, and then the body of a young man. Similarly, everything is changed and transformed by the time factor or by the indirect control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Usually, we do not see any difference between the body of a child and the body of a boy or young man, because we know that these changes are due to the action of the time factor. There is cause for fear for a person who does not know how time acts. Om Ganata Madandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshramilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Mubhakadamayam Didati Svavadantikam Bandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuta Parikamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatang Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitang Savadutang Purajana Saitang Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I was just remembering how Srila Prabhupada, when he took sannyas, was it Krishnadas Babaji was singing kirtan, and the Vedic mantras were being chanted by the Brahmanans, and they told him to stop, and then Prabhupada said, no, keep chanting. So, time I am. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. I was meditating just not far from here. Next state over is New Mexico. And I took birth in 1954, 9 years before that, 10 years before my wife was born in 55. In 1946, there was an explosion that took place. And this explosion actually altered the course of Western human history. It was the explosion of the atom bomb. World War II was such a devastating event in human history. It was 80 million people, were killed, either directly in battle or ramifications of the war. Such a devastating event. And the scientists, actually, Albert Einstein came up with this equation, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. Right? He saw that there's actually matter and energy are the same thing. They're just interchangeable. So he came up with this theoretical understanding, but he didn't know how to make it into a bomb. Right? So that took the genius of another scientist, Robert Oppenheimer. And he actually was very much fond of the Vedas. In fact, before even Srila Prabhupada came, he passed away in 1967. And sometimes I think I wish he just stayed a little longer so Srila Prabhupada could have met him, because I'm sure he would have met Srila Prabhupada. But before Srila Prabhupada came, he was a book distributor. Of course, he wasn't distributing Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, but he was distributing Bhagavad Gita, to his colleagues, to students. So they asked him when he was the chief scientist behind the production of the atom bomb. He was referred to as the father of the atom bomb. And that bomb changed, basically, it just changed, it was a game changer. It ended the war. It didn't end the hatred, but it ended, at least for that time being, the great destruction that was going on. So they asked him, and you can actually YouTube this, asked him on television, what were you thinking when you saw the first explosion? They built this tower. On top of the tower, they put this plutonium bomb, and at 5:30 in the morning, it just lit up the sky. This huge cloud. All the asphalt and sand around it turned to green glass. What were you thinking? So what do you think he was thinking? He was thinking of Krishna. This game changer event in human history, the person who was responsible was thinking of Krishna. He didn't quote the Sanskrit. He could have quoted the Sanskrit. He knew Sanskrit. He was such a brilliant man, But he, Kavalosmi, Lokashayat Krit Pravadato, Samarahatum Loka Iha Pravadata. When Arjuna asked Krishna, "O Lord of Lords, O fierce of forms, please tell me who you are," when he's seeing this huge universal form expanding in front of his eyes, Arjuna asks, "Who are you? What is your mission?" And Krishna explains, "Time I am, destroyer of the worlds. I have come to destroy all living beings. Everyone, except you, the five Pandavas, on both sides, will be slain." Right? And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, he describes time as, time is destruction. Right? Everything succumbs to time. However, we are given hope. In the pages of Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit is an example of someone who was fearless in the face of time. He was cursed to die in 7 days. Now, if what would have happened if Maharaj Parikshit had not heard Bhagavatam in 7 days? He would have been weak. Would have made it weak, right? 7 days, if you don't hear Bhagavatam, you become weak. Right? But he was just the opposite. He was fully immersed, absorbed in hearing the deathless nectar. It's described. This Bhagavatam is deathless nectar. You know, I remember when I was growing up as a child, we had a breakfast cereal called Wheaties. Right? Breakfast of champions, right? And you see on the cereal box all the heroes that you wanted to become, the great heroes of sports and football and baseball and so on. You know. So this Bhagavatam, this is the deathless nectar which will make us all spiritual heroes. And so, just like the Pandavas will not be slain, similarly, the devotees will not be slain. Because a devotee, by dint of cultivation of Krishna consciousness, realizes that my dependence, my existence, is not dependent upon the existence of this material body. Like consciousness is an eternal element. And that I am, that is my nature, Sat Chidananda Vigraha, full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. So, what is the process for becoming fearless in the face of death? In just 2 minutes, I'll also experience the form of death. It'll be 8:15, so I'll have to wrap things up very quickly. So I'd like to mention, I've had the great honor and privilege to be here in this holy Dham among so many exalted Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And I've been hearing for the past short time that I've been here, some of the ways that we can become free from the fear of death. And I remember I took some notes. I love to take notes. And one thing I learned from Premamrita Prabhu is that devotees make the Dham beautiful. Right? I thought, what a beautiful realization. That we need a holy Dham. But unless we have devotees whose hearts have melted in the ecstasy of hearing Krishna's holy name and associating and serving each other, unless we have that, just like I mentioned a few weeks ago in the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada says, it's amazing, he says, Krishna by himself is not beautiful, but when Krishna is surrounded by his devotees, he becomes more beautiful. That's one of Krishna's qualities. He's surrounded by devotees who are imbued with love of Godhead. So the more we develop our love for Krishna, the more his beauty manifests. So time is flying. Yeah. We get a little extension. Okay. A little grace. Okay. Well, I'm thank you for that, Nrsimha Prabhu. You're very gracious. And I especially want to thank you for helping create such a warm, welcoming environment here in Sri Sri Radha Kalachandji Dham. It's a wonderful service that you're doing. So I'm glad that you said that because it gives me an opportunity now to share some of the nectar I've learned from the devotees about how to become fearless in the face of death. So we've just learned from Premamrita Prabhu that if we start to recognize the beauty in the devotees around us, right, that will create the atmosphere conducive for becoming fearless in the face of death. I also learned from Nanda Vraj Prabhu that depression is a gift from Krishna to help us go deeper. Just like you said, right? That storms of life strengthen our faith. Right? So similarly, you were saying that when we are faced with depression, when we're faced with adversity, right? We're faced with situations which are so annoying, right? Actually, a devotee sees these as an opportunity to go deeper into their Krishna consciousness. Vishnu Charan Prabhu mentioned, expressed the same sentiment or the same understanding that when we experience gratitude in the face of adversity, then Krishna opens the doors of perception within our hearts, and we perceive him more clearly and more as a part of our life, intimately connected to our very existence. So I think we'll stop here. It's 8:17. I'd like to hear more of your reflections now. Please teach me.
Thank you so much for class, Prabhu. I appreciate also Nishri Rupa giving more time, because I was actually lamenting going, I know that you prepared for this class, and I was thinking, gosh, I heard these other things that you were ready to. So I'm glad we got these few extra minutes to hear your realizations. I wanted to mention that I'm really, I heard you the other day at class talk about Krishna magic and how wonderful it is, and we should appreciate it. We're actually in Krishna House reading we're reading chapter 11 right now, and we are just about to get to these verses, I think today, of the time. So, and we decided to speak on fear tomorrow for a program called Bhakti Circle, and Dristadumna Prabhu is going to give this talk on fear. And here we are talking about fear, we're talking about time, and I was just like, wow, this is Krishna's teaching us in such a wonderful way. My question, Prabhu, is how do we practically see time as our friend? Or how do we use it in our life to dive deeper into Krishna consciousness? We just heard about all this fear and fear and fear. And we want to go above fear, beyond fear. Fear is such a first tip of love of God, right? And we want to go above it. So how do we use time or fear to dive deeper into our Krishna consciousness?
It's a beautiful question. And I'm sure all of you have reflections that you can share as well. I'm just to start the ball rolling. When we recognize that time is Krishna, and that just like in the purport it says today, that those who've forgotten Krishna they are cause of fear for a person who does not know how time acts. So there's an interesting story in the Bhagavatam where in the 9th canto where King Kandukmi, okay, he wants to get his daughter Revati married, and he takes her to Brahmaloka. He actually goes from the Earth planet to Brahmaloka. And he asked Lord Brahma, he had some husbands in mind for his daughter, some kings, some very powerful kings. And he wanted to ask him for his blessings. Asked Lord Brahma for his blessings. But when he got there was a musical concert going on by the Gandharvas. And so Lord Brahma said, no, let them finish. I want to hear the music. Let them finish. So then after the music was finished, then he made his request. King Kandukmi said, please, this is my desire to get my daughter married. And these are some people I'm thinking of. And Lord Brahma started to laugh very loudly. He says, why are you laughing? He says, because since this music concert has been going on here, 27 yuga cycles have taken place of, right? Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali. And that's like, what? 2 million years? 27 of those cycles. 1 minute, time varies according to, the different bodies and different modes of nature. It's like if you come to a red light and if you're late for something you want to get to, right? It seems like every second that ticks by is like, just hours, Whereas if you're in the mode of goodness and you've planned your day accordingly and you're kind of in a sattvic mode, when you come to that red light, there's no anxiety because you're in the mode of goodness. So simply time fluctuates, how we perceive time fluctuates according to our mode of nature. Now when you think of time in the absolute realm, for us, an hour, we think that hour, we make a distinction. We think an hour is shorter than a month, right? But from the perspective, because time is conscious, in our mechanistic Western thinking, we're thinking time has no consciousness. But time is actually conscious because it is Krishna. So from the perspective of eternal time, there's no difference between 1 hour and 1 month, or 1 minute and 10 million years, from the perspective of infinity. And that's what we learn in the spiritual world. Time is conspicuous by its absence. Now, for a devotee in Krishna consciousness, we enter into a realm of timelessness through purified consciousness. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we are rising above the influence of time and we're becoming fearless in the face of time. Anyone else like to share that? Was that helpful at all?
I want to check in. If I had a thought, and I want to see if this is correct in what you're saying, is that really the only thing that's important is the moment now.
Yes.
Because that's all, that's our chance to be Krishna consciousness. We can make plans for this, but right now is it.
Yes.
I'm hearing you correctly?
No, that's so true. I was just meditating. I'm glad you said that. It's like you talk about Krishna magic, I wanted to talk about this, but then you bring it up. It's like a donkey, right? Like a mudha. Sometimes donkeys, Prabhupada refers to the materialists as mudhas, like the ass, right? So to get the ass to move, you dangle a carrot in front of him, and it has a stick, right? Sometimes, I've never seen this, but I heard they do this. They attach a stick to the donkey, and there's a carrot dangling, and the donkey keeps walking forward. I'm going to get that carrot. I'm going to get that carrot. He keeps walking. So in the same way, material energy is dangling carrots in front of us. We think, if I just take one more step, I'll get the carrot, and that carrot's going to make me happy. Right? But we realize the only carrot that will make us happy is the Krishna carrot. And Krishna's already within us. Right? He's inside of us. He's just waiting for us to turn to him. So yes, what you're saying, we're thinking in dualistic perception, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are beyond the dualities, those who've gone beyond duality, and are active within, they can achieve liberation. So we have the dualistic thinking of present moment, future moment. And I can't wait till I reach that future moment. And if we get the future moment, oftentimes the future moment doesn't satisfy us. So we start looking for another carrot. So the process just repeats itself over and over again. So we're caught up. So this is the amazing, like later on David Huti says, this knowledge is the axe that chops down the tree of material existence. So this hearing of Bhagavatam is the axe that will that will free us, release us from that conception, that thinking the future moment. When we have all the tools right now, right here with us, and especially in this temple, in this environment, all the tools are there to become fully Krishna conscious. We're so blessed.
Thank you. I have so many more questions, but I think it's time for me to say who else.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I came in a little late. But I was reading in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says he's death personified. So it's very interesting. It's similar to Krishna saying he's the time factor. And so I was thinking that one way to overcome fear of like death, right, which is the ultimate fear, is you're going to see Krishna.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't mean you're seeing see Shama Sundar Krishna, right? But you're going to see Krishna in his form as death. And if you know Krishna is death, then that's maybe a key to not fearing it so much.
Yes.
I don't know. At least that's what
beautiful.
approach I'm going to try to take.
Thank you so much.
Well, you were at the end there, you were saying like we have all the tools here that we need to become Krishna conscious. And I mean, I've heard this explained so many different ways, and yet I'm still bewildered by it. Why don't we become Krishna conscious? Why is it taking so long? Why does it seem so difficult? But also, we were talking the other day, and we remember Prabhupada said you can become Krishna conscious in a moment. So why don't we?
Well, there's a beautiful analogy given by Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, of the wedding party. Right? The wedding party gets into the boat, and they start rowing. The groom is rowing very vigorously, and when the night is over, they're in the same place. And then, what's wrong? The wife says, "You fool! You forgot to take up the anchor." I don't know if she said "you fool," but the point was that the groom did not pick up the anchor. He just kept rowing. So in the same way, we don't pick up the anchor of our attachments, because we're conditioned. But it says that it's very hard to approach Krishna directly. So he has a compassionate nature. So devotees always crying out to Krishna's compassionate nature, Radharani, to please ask Krishna to be merciful to me. So in that mood, we can cry out to Srimati Radharani to please help me. Ask Krishna to please remove these anchors from my heart so I can row my boat to you. So it's easier said than done, yes, I admit. But as Krishna assures Arjuna, it is possible by constant practice and detachment. So if we're attached to a result, that why aren't I enlightened yet? No, because that's a self-centered thought. Why aren't I? They're always thinking, how can I serve Krishna? He's not concerned. He's just that's the pure state of consciousness that we're. As the process of bhakti begins to take effect, we come to that point where we just want to please Krishna in whatever circumstance that he puts us in. And then the world becomes Vaikuntha. Right now. Sure.
So then what I'm thinking is, this wedding party, say they're not going to a wedding, they're trying to get to Krishna Loka. But yeah, they're too weak maybe. They can't, they forgot, but also they just can't lift up the anchor on their own. They just don't have the power. So maybe they decide to just sit in the boat and sing kirtan. That's also an okay solution. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I can't lift it, so whatever. Here we are. We're in Krishna Loka if we can remember him anyways. So.
Right, exactly. That's how devotees would think. That's a devotee, right? And as they're sitting in kirtan, chanting, then the whole boat turns into Vaikuntha.
Thank you for the wonderful class. I was feeling so grateful that we have devotees like yourself in the community, and for myself personally, that if I can practice Krishna consciousness nicely, kind of like Premamrita was mentioning, that I can develop some qualities like you. I'm just grateful for the example that you're showing me and all of us, and for the wonderful class. And I was remembering Srila Prabhupada was giving a class in Australia, and a devotee kind of asked a similar question. He said, we've been conditioned for so many countless lifetimes, so do we have to practice Krishna consciousness for that same amount of time to counteract that conditioning? And Srila Prabhupada said the same thing. He said, just in one moment you can become Krishna conscious. Then he asked everybody, are you not reading Bhagavad Gita? Srila Prabhupada's question. And then he gave the analogy of, like, if you're sick, right? You can't expect that, I'm just gonna get well in just a moment. You have to practice and take the medicine in order to get better. Srila Prabhupada was saying. Yeah. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. And the last thing was, I just found it, because like Dharma Prabhu mentioned, I think death is something everybody fears, right? Everyone's worried about time and death, and even my kids, I don't know, maybe some parents can relate to this. They started getting really anxious at a young age when they would think about, one day my mom and dad are going to die. You guys are older than me, and you're going to die before I do. And we're relatively young and in good health, but I believe that's a fear everybody has. But how kind Krishna is, that you don't have to be afraid of time or death if you realize that it's me also, to kind of take that fear away.
Thank you. Just 20-second little tidbit I'll share. My wife was in 1972. She was in New Vrindavan, and she was there when devotee asked. You want to share? What did that devotee ask? That why is Maya so strong?
Srila Prabhupada said, Maya is not so strong. Your desire to serve Krishna is not strong.
Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Shri Radha Kala Kanji ki, Sadhu Sangha ki, Gaur